Yes. Okay, go ahead.
The whole question about herd immunity. Should we aim for herd immunity and then forget about all the rest?
One moment. Just one more post, then I'll join you. Homemade filters. The homemade filters are very reliable, by the way. Okay, yes, I'm there. Okay, when you get herd immunity, will that be the case? Okay. Yeah, so the herd immunity is not going to happen. It's not going to happen because of the variants. So far, there has been no evidence of any herd immunity from vaccination or from natural infection. There are good data now from a number of countries showing people can get reinfected 3, 4 times. In fact, some people refuse to get vaccination, they get infected second, third time. Those who are vaccinated have less reinfection, but you can still get infected. So I think nobody talks about herd immunity at the present moment. It's an old thinking. It's not going to happen with COVID. Okay. The second question. So I've shared a reliable mask. I think the Durio mask is good. Shared a very reliable CO2 monitor. Okay. And saliva test kit, I don't know enough. Okay. I have friends who tell me which ones are good, doctor friends who tell me which ones are good. But the problem is we've noticed that BA2, you need to choose your kit carefully. Not all the kits are equally good. So I think this one, you get back to Xu Meng. Maybe somebody needs to. I wish we had a think tank, who could think through some of these issues, test the products, and then tell you this model is right. But we need people who are not linked to any companies, not trying to make any quick buck about this. Huh? I'm not linked to any of the companies I've shared with you. Yeah, so I cannot tell you about saliva kit right now. The MDA, Malaysian Device Authority, has got a list, but I'm not impressed with the huge list there.
Yes,
I think we need to narrow down to a few reliable ones. By the way, the nose is better than the mouth. That's very clear. So if you just rely on saliva alone, cannot. Most people swab the mouth, then they swab the nose. That gives a better result. Okay. So I think need a couple of people who are doing this, using the kit regularly. Assuming if there's nobody can think about it, I post it in my doctor's thinking group, and I'm sure I will get some very, very good suggestions. I can forward them back to you. Right?
Yeah, Ken. Just my input. Okay. Personally, I would normally do not agree with saliva tests because there's too much variable. I think I've told Amar as well. When we are running, Crest was running the Travel Lodge COVID quarantine center. I did a small sampling of those who are already positive admitted. The saliva pickup rate was extremely poor. We tried about 3 brands, only about 20%. So personally, I would always ask for nasal swab.
Yep.
I think that is the more reliable because saliva, I mean, just be a bit of liquid out and that's about it, and you don't know where the sample is from. So I personally do not go for saliva testing. Okay, next question.
Thank you, Queenie, for that question. Valuable questions, yes.
Okay, wait, I'll go down. Will there be a 4th booster? What's the use of CO2 monitor? Different between oximeter and CO2 monitor.
Okay. Thanks, Ruth, for that question. I think I've answered the 4th booster issue. I answered the booster. I didn't answer the 4th booster. Right now, some countries, not many, UK, I think US, both offering a 4th booster to the highest risk people. That means people, past 70, 80, people who are chronically ill, people in old folks' homes, they're offering that 4th booster as a protection. The effect of the booster doesn't seem to last very long. It may carry you through this wave, but it doesn't seem to last much longer than that. So I can't say very much about 4th booster. I cannot recommend it very much. I think if you're taking other precautions, it's probably a better thing than that. And many people are not taking the additional precautions. I still see very poor mask usage in our country in terms of the quality of your mask and your fit of your mask. What's a CO2 monitor? Okay, and a pulse oximeter. A pulse oximeter measures your oxygen. It's good to have a pulse oximeter when you're infected. If your oxygen comes down below 95%, the oximeter, then you know you're not good, you better be in hospital. A CO2 monitor is an environmental monitor. The pulse oximeter measures your own blood oxygen. The CO2 is an environmental monitor telling you the CO2 in the room. Sumit, can you stop sharing for a moment?
Okay.
Let me share something that people may understand. As I said, I've written a lot and given lots of talks in the past. And one moment, let me find something for you. Okay, here it is. I got the slides ready just in case. Yep. Let me bring this up. Okay, can see that?
Yeah. Okay. Make it screen.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Just give me a second. Okay, fine. So this is how I would evaluate a room. If I'm running a Sunday school, okay, and my Sunday school room is largely closed, I want to keep my CO2 below 800 parts per million. Below 400 is best lah. 800 is a compromise, okay? If you want to be best, it's 400. So the first thing is you buy a reliable monitor and you watch the levels in the room. Of course, at this point, I won't bring children in. I probably seat maybe 20 teachers inside there, mimic a Sunday school room with teachers and ask them to move around a bit and do an activity, do some teaching and see what happens, okay? If the CO2 is below 800 all the time, then you know you're in business. This is the number of children and teachers that you can have in the class. If it's not not below 800, then you optimize if you can. You open your doors and windows and you check your CO2 level. I would check different parts of the room because there may be places where air movement is no good. The best way is like those Australian fathers now. They brought a smoke meter, but how many of us can buy a smoke meter? We cannot. So this is the cheap man's way. You move your monitor around. If after opening your doors and windows, or you cannot open doors and windows, it's a closed room, then you use mechanical ventilation to improve. Okay, either you put exhaust fan with filters, you suck in air, or you suck out air. Okay, sucking out air, you must be careful. Where is the air coming in from? Maybe coming in from adjacent room, which may not be so good, or from the corridor. I prefer exhaust fan with a filter. And check CO2. If you can't do this, then you just go ahead and do this. That means you add a portable air cleaner and you check your air. You may need more than one, depends on the size of your room. Again, it must be a HEPA-based portable air cleaner, not just something somebody is selling to you. Half of them are rubbish and put in the dustbin, they don't work. They won't do the job for you. And you monitor the CO2 until you reach the target that you are. You got to be careful about peak usage times. That's the target you're trying to reach. So maybe early in the morning, it's only 300, but when all the kids are there and they've been sitting there for an hour, it might be 1,000, then that's not good. So many people have done this 1 year ago. We're still not doing this. And I'm very sad that our government not pushing this adequately. So that's what a CO2 monitor does, okay? That's how I would use it. Okay, back.
Okay. Next question. Why need to vaccinate soon if already have antibodies? Should we do antibody tests?
Yeah, thank you, Robin. This is a common problem that is being discussed and talked about in the world. At the present moment, the Center for Disease Control in the US and Europe do not recommend antibody testing as a means to check whether you are immune or not. Firstly, you have many different lines of immunity. It's not just your antibodies. You've also got cells in your body which fight the virus. There's also immunity in your nose and throat, which are equally important for this virus. So, something called your innate cells, something like T cells and B cells, which protect you, especially the T cells. So antibodies alone may give you a false idea about your immunity and don't seem to be reliable at the present moment. Some doctors in Malaysia are doing this. They are doing antibody tests and say, oh, antibodies are high, you probably are okay. But there is no agreement on this anywhere in the world from any of the data that I've seen, and it's not recommended at the present moment. As I said, I'm trying to push Ministry of Health, and I just pushed them again yesterday, that if somebody has an infection, we must count it at least 1 dose of a vaccine. Okay? We must. So if somebody had 2 doses, then he got infected, let's count it as a booster because it is doing something for him. There is good data showing that vaccination plus infection gives you very, very good immunity, okay, from studies. So I haven't got any evidence to support using antibodies to decide about vaccination at the present moment. Nobody has. Anybody who tells you they have is only looking at a small, tiny amount of data, not the full data set out there. Next. Yes, thank you, Karen. I don't know how long, Karen, if you get COVID infection after vaccination. So, Karen, the reality is this: you had 2 vaccination doses and then you got infected. That works like a booster. Okay, so I think that would last for easily for 3 months, probably for 4 to 6 months. But Karen, I don't know about variants. Now, these variants all play havoc with us. One moment we seem we're all right, then along comes Omicron and damage all the vaccine reliability that we have. So I think you cannot just treat one COVID infection as reliable. I think if you had one COVID infection, the minimum you should get is a one vaccination after that. That's the minimum. But I would go for 3. Okay, 1 COVID infection, 2 vaccinations, or 3 vaccinations. Better still, I don't want COVID infection. Okay, as far as I know, I've not been infected yet. I don't want my brain shrunk or my heart long-term damage or have a higher risk of diabetes and stuff like that.
Okay.
I hear people getting second infection. May I know what can be done? Come back to the question. Sorry, we missed the second part of the question. Is it possible to come back to me? Yeah. What can be done to prevent second infection? I think I've been talking about that for the Sunday school. Same principles apply to us. You have to fix your office ventilation. You have to think about the lift that you go up in. You have to think about who you're meeting. So maybe if you're planning to have a family reunion, then test everybody with reliable nasal antigen test before you meet. So we have to invest some money and effort to improve what we are doing. Don't think that just because this is your family, relative, friend, that they are safe. No, as most specialists in the world behave, everybody is a COVID risk. The only person I trust is my wife that I live with. Because if she's infected, I'm infected, okay? And vice versa. KN95 mask, and there's also a KF95 mask. Assuming you're going to say something about that.
No, I mean, these are just different type of masks. A lot depends on the manufacturer.
Correct. Again, buy a reliable one if you buy, okay? Don't buy just online one. Buy 3M is a very good company, okay? South Korea has got a website where they tell you which mask is reliable, which not reliable mask, okay? So people go there and check before they buy. I wish we had something like that. Just because it's approved. So 95 means filter 95% of the particles, 94 means 94% particles. If you're going indoor, long period, then a KF95 mask might be better. Some of these masks are more for dust than for viral particles. I think it's better to read the mask information first. Carry on.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Selena, is okay to sit on a carpeted floor. There's no problem there. It's no different from sitting on a chair. Okay. Of course, chair, you can say we can clean individual chair, and the carpet we can't clean. What will happen? I mean, I'm a realist. Okay. I imagine what's happening. So these kids are sitting on the carpet floor. Some viral particles will end up on the carpet. How are you going to clean your carpet very often? You can't, isn't it? Unless you're going to wet vacuum. That can wet vacuum carpets. I know there are some wet vacuums around. A dry vacuum may not do very much. Are you going to spray with alcohol after all the children have left? I don't know. But that's an option. After all children have gone for the next sitting, spray. But if you're leaving that carpet alone for 1 week, I think it's done. And after a couple of days, the virus is not there anymore. So during that time, yeah, sit on the carpet, no problem. I often prefer the floor than the chair. More fun. Okay, this is Willing and I Cheng asking for good HEPA filter. Please look at the link that I sent to you just now, which is an Australian group from university. They actually tested many, and they show you which is the cheap but effective one. I like that kind of study, isn't it? I followed their recommendation and bought that one. I'm not going to give you the brand. You read the article. They got a diagram there which shows. Simin can stop sharing for a moment.
Okay.
Okay, can see this diagram?
Okay.
This is in the, oops, sorry. It went back to where it was. Sorry, come back. Okay, here. So this is from that paper from Melbourne where they do, and you can see that this is the clean air delivery rate, and this is the air cleaner cost down here in Australian ringgit. Okay, this is the clean air delivery rate here, and they only look at HEPA filter cleaners. They forget about the non-reliable one, and they look at many different brands. They even quote the brand number sometimes. So you cannot afford to buy these. Who can afford to buy, 1.5K Australian HEPA filter? That's a very big bill. But down here, there are good ones. They're not expensive, terribly expensive, and they're very good clean rate. And you can see the brand that we're talking about. These brands. This one, not so good down here. Not enough airflow movement. You want good airflow movement. Okay, so go and have a look at that and think about that from that study and choose one. Okay, there may be more studies out there. Okay, I can't read everything. I try and read a lot, but still there's a limit.
I think you recommended the CO2 already monitor. So
yes, I recommend it. And that one, by the way, recommended to me by a company in Malaysia that does improve air quality. They work on air quality, okay? And they tested, I think, about 20 or 31 and threw away 90%. I also bought a few and threw them away because they're useless, okay? That one is really got the right sensor. It's a sensor type that's important. Anything you buy under 200 ringgit, you can put the dustbin. And some they sell expensive also, you can put the dustbin. They're sensing chemicals, not CO2. So that one is very, very good. Yes, any contraindication for teachers above 70, fully vaccinated with pre-morbid to go in for physical teaching, please. Alice, it's your decision about this. Is there a risk for you? Yes, there is a higher risk for you for this particular teacher, to get COVID, of course, because you're exposing yourself to young children and to environment. But I think it's got to be a personal decision about teaching this. I don't think anybody can say yes or no about this. Okay. Again, if I was a church or so, I would leave it to the individual to decide. But at least I would make sure you have fixed the situation. Like when I'm going to the Majlis Pemilihan Negara, I know the ventilation is not fixed. I want to teach on, I want to talk to them online. They refuse. The ministers want me in person. So I'm bringing my CO2 monitor lah. I'm going to put it right in front of me while I'm speaking. And then I'm going to say, look at this. This room is not safe for all of us. Huh? Okay. I'm going to do that to them, okay? All right. So we'll see what they do. They're not going to call me back again, okay? Which is what I'm hoping for. Work 3 months for them, No gaji, and also travel to KL on my own speed. They don't even fund you to come and, help them. Yes, Hui Ling, what about open classroom? There is no classroom at all, separated different sections in the hall. Oh, risky, Hui Ling. That's the most risky classroom. I mean open, you mean not open air, but the classroom is, side by side lah, with no partition, correct? That's how I read this question. Time to put in some partitions. I think gypsum board, quite easy to put in, Maybe crowdfund among the churches and get someone to come and put in some mobile partitions for you that can be removed, in case you need the hall for a bigger congregation meeting. Yes. Next.
Okay.
Airflow cannot be very good in that kind of situations. Why is COVID vax not more permanent? Like you need booster. Audrey, I'm not a vaccinologist, but I do a lot of work with vaccines. I'm the guy who made MMR and Haemophilus influenza B come into the country. It took 4 years of my life. So I read a lot about vaccines. And I don't think all vaccines are permanent. All vaccines have a limited. And I've been talking to my colleagues that some adults are going to get diseases that children had because the vaccine is going to wane with time. Some vaccines are better. Live vaccines are very much better. Like MMR, they're live vaccines, they work better. The kill vaccines don't work so well. So this is a kill vaccine produced very, very quickly under a lot of pressure with lots of scientists working. It's a good vaccine. I'm extremely impressed how fast and effective it is, both the Sinovac and the Pfizer and the Moderna and the AstraZeneca and all the others, okay? I just think we haven't hit the right formula. And if we had 10, 20 years to do this, we probably get a better vaccine. That's why I say, look out for pan-coronavirus vaccine, which is probably the one that's going to tahan lama. For the nose kit, wait 30 minutes after food. I'm not enough. Xiuming, do you know?
It normally says if you can have a gap lah, because you don't know drinking and eating.
Yep.
How you affect washing and all that.
Yeah.
But nose is not so bad as saliva.
Agreed. But I would think even when you eat and drink, your nose might run a little bit, a bit of chili or something. So I think it's wise to wait a little bit. Okay, carry on. Yes, Alice, that incidence of Bell's palsy that I was showing you is adults, by the way. That side effect data is entirely adults. The second slide that I was showing you, Alice, not children. Only one child with Bell's palsy. I think 4 children with Bell's palsy in that particular data set. So this first turned up in Hong Kong data. Hong Kong was the first guys who showed some data of Sinovac. And in the Hong Kong data, the Bell's palsy risk was higher in Sinovac, I think double that of Pfizer. So fortunately, they published the data, so I got access to it. Otherwise, we don't know. But we don't have many other data. Now in Malaysia, we can see that the Sinovac and Pfizer risk for Bell's palsy are the same. What is Bell's palsy? The nerve that controls your mouth and your face on one side becomes paralyzed. Does that happen? It happens normally to people as well. Can it happen after the vaccine? It seems to happen after both Pfizer and Sinovac, but some people not sure is related. I think there is some risk. Okay, it cannot be so many and then we ignore it. Okay, so the
But
risk
many
is,
health also recover.
or most
So
of them recover, even the normal one, and this one also recover. But it
yes,
can be very distressing when you have it, isn't it? So you mean everybody's had it, you know how distressing it can be while you have it. Got to get treated very early though. If you see it, you must go and see preferably a specialist very early. Because there is some treatment for it, especially if you start steroids very early, you can reduce the swelling of the
yes.
nerve and recovery faster. So it's higher risk among adults. I haven't seen much risk in children except a small number in Malaysia. Okay.
Can we take different brands of booster than our previous two doses?
Okay, thanks for spotting that question there. Okay, yes, the data is very clear now, quite a number of studies that a different brand is better than the same brand, cross brands, but it doesn't work for every brand. So I have not seen the Sinovac on top of Pfizer booster. I have seen this Pfizer on top of Sinovac data. So please note that, okay? So this is the problem. Most of their studies they've done Moderna, Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, that kind of studies. And most of them show very, very good improvement. But I have not seen Sinovac after Pfizer. I've only seen Pfizer after Sinovac. And for that, it's useful. Is the government recommendation open windows and fans to ventilate classroom adequate? No, because you don't know what the ventilation is like. You just open only. Sure, it's good to open fans and windows. And maybe, if you're in the typical classroom like I was in, I remember my classroom got ventilation on both sides. There's no class on the other side. Air can come right through my class. Okay, yeah, probably good. But on a windless day, what am I like? Is my class ventilated or not? So you need a good CO2 monitor to know what's happening in that class and monitor. Then you know whether this opening and fans or windows is sufficient. If it's not sufficient, then, by the way, I wouldn't use a wall fan. I only use a top fan. The wall fan pushes air in one direction and you may push the virus from one child to another child. And that's not good. So you want a fan at the top, okay? Otherwise, HEPA air filter to add on if your CO2 is rising in the classroom. What about Durio 4-ply mask? Good enough? No, Pei-Ling. The problem is not the quality of the Durio mask. The material is good. The problem is the fit. The surgical mask fit is not as good as a N95 mask, that's the best, or a KF 94 mask. The fit is much better with those masks. If you look at the shape of the mask, you know straight away. The leak. When I use my KF94, my mask move in and out in my breathing. When I use surgical mask, there's hardly any movement. So the study shows, 30-40% leak with the surgical mask. It's a good mask, by the way, but it doesn't prevent leak from the side. Yes. Jeremy, just Amar is fine. Regard to individual who contacted COVID, what would be considered ideal time to isolate before coming back to serve the children ministry once again? Okay. Jeremy, I would recommend 2 weeks. There's good data that 5 days, which is what now the government is suggesting. UK also suggests 5 days can go back to work. It's not good evidence. At 5 days, 50 to 60% of people are still infectious and spreading virus. The data is very clear. You cannot go back at 5 days, I think it's not safe. I mean, not everybody can afford a PCR. And as you know, the RTK is not as reliable as you would like it to be for such a person who's already infected. So I would wait 2 weeks. Even then, should we test or not test? I will leave the decision to you. But 2 weeks is a very safe time to go back. Can some people still be infected? Yes. There are some people who shed virus longer than others. You won't know that unless you do a PCR. RTK won't help you at this point. Okay. So if you want to be 100% secure, you wait until 10 days, do a PCR about 10, 11 days. PCR is cleared, go back at 14 days in your clear. Okay. If you don't have the money for that PCR, then just wait 14 days and go back, and the vast majority will be clear. Now this question, which is a loaded question, isn't it? Should every church member do RK testing every week? I have people in some offices doing it twice a week. Now, officer, not church. Everybody does. The company funds the testing. So nice of them. Plus, the company also, 3 days work from home, 2 days work in the office. Yeah, they're very good companies. There are companies like that who have changed dramatically. Very good ventilation at office as well. Got money or no money? Can find good tests or not? That's how I would think. Got a good test. You got the money to do it. You don't burden your staff, please. This is mustn't add to their burden. Church workers are the ones. Church workers especially must be funded. The general church members, can everybody fund it? Not everybody can fund this, and if the church wants to fund all the church members, also church also go broke. So it's a messy decision here. When to test? If I want to test that morning before coming. That should be done at home. You don't want to test at the church where everybody got to open the mouth for you and you get infected. Okay. So not Saturday evening, Sunday morning. Yes. So I haven't given a satisfactory answer. A lot depends on which one. Is it okay for different groups to use common space one after the another? Oh yes, buffer time. I would offer an hour buffer time during which you have ventilated that space effectively. This is a time you can put on your wall fans also, push air out of that room. Okay, make sure you're not pushing into another room. Push out of the room. What you can do, one way to ventilate the room effectively, which you can do even when the class is running, is put a stand fan at the window. When you put a fan at the window blowing outwards, you suck air outwards. It's a cheap man's ventilation fan. Okay, so that's an effective way. So we would recommend an hour. An hour is very long for you, I know. Isn't it? To in between service, because you want to meet straight away. Don't go and say you spray alcohol in the room and you have sanitized the air. That's a con job, okay? That one is not. There's no data on that to support it. Do you wipe down the chairs? Yes. Even when I go somewhere, I spray the chair before I sit. In fact, I try not to sit anywhere that I go. If I short while, I just stand only. So better to use more spaces, but I know some of you are restricted in your spaces. If you can, use more spaces. Okay, yes. I see some wearing a personal air purifier around that. Is that effective? Need to see the device. I have bought a South Korean small air purifier, something only about this size. Okay, why do I buy that? When I go and pick up my car from servicing, I use it in my car. Of course, I open all the windows as well, but still, that device is shooting the air. It's a HEPA filter device, by the way, shooting air straight at me. And I use it sometimes when I have to go indoors longer period. But there is not much data for this. Even for my device, there's not much data. So it's the quality of your air purifier. Is your air purifier electronic? It's got battery. Secondly, it's got HEPA filter, which is a reliable HEPA filter, at least 13. There's a word for it. A filter level of 13. I can't remember the name of that filter, and it's giving sufficient air for you to breathe. So it's the air around you is being purified. I don't think the ones around the neck will do that. You can forget. Yes, Ruth, this is an issue. I wrote an article about this even before vaccination. It's like this, Ruth. I'm due to get a stroke next week. I didn't know, but I was going to get a stroke. I get a vaccine this week, then I got a stroke. Then I blame the vaccine for the stroke. That's one possibility. All right. So because you had the vaccine, so we blame this. But the second possibility is that the vaccine initiated the stroke. We know this is a vascular vaccine. We know this disease is a vascular disease. It's not just a lung disease. COVID-19 is a nasty disease that damages small blood vessels all over the body, which is why the brain, the heart, other organs are damaged, your kidneys and so on, your liver. So is it possible? Ruth, I am an honest individual. I think it's possible. The risk is very small. Would I give this guy this vaccine again? My father, I would say no. But this person has to decide themselves, because I would see their risk, you see. How old are they? What is their risk of of getting COVID and stuff like that. Huh? So if my risk is very high, I would go ahead. If not, I would think very hard about giving vaccine. I would be nervous here. I'm speaking personally here. I don't have enough data to tell you, and there's been not enough data about this. There's been some case reports, and that means it describe individual people having a stroke after all the different kinds of vaccines, because they're vascular vaccines. So I think it's possible that the vaccine caused this, but this person's risk of dying from COVID and getting damage from COVID must be assessed. Not a satisfactory answer. Sit down with a wise doctor and have a chat. Reporting to my Sejahtera, sorry, is useless. Then answer, yes, I agree. Reporting to my Sejahtera is useless. Come back to that one, please. So what you should do is you should go to NPRA. You just search NPRA, National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Authority, NPRA Malaysia. There you go and look for a reporting form. You fill that and send. Let me, for me, it was useless. I had a lot of side effects from Pfizer. My blood pressure shot up. I had chest pain, angina. I had one joint swollen, and I had a swelling about 10 cm on my arm. So can you imagine? I'm a high-risk person. I am allergic to many things, okay? My vaccine was given in hospital because they thought I might have a severe allergic reaction. So I cannot report to my Sejahtera. I went to NPRA and reported. There they pay attention to your report, okay? Double mask, Shirin, coming down. Yes, double masks help, but not as good as a KF94 or N95 mask, friend. You got no money, use this. You can buy a KF94 mask, use that. Okay, how much the KF94 mask from Durio cost? About 1 ringgit 20 cents, I think, if you buy the big box, right? Can't buy, share box with other people and buy that one. Okay. Again, push Durio, ask them to sell the children's mask cheaper and greater bulk, then you can buy for your Sunday school kids. Can asymptomatic COVID patient get a side effect such as long COVID symptom? Yes, yes, and yes, Queenie. Well shown right now that a lot of asymptomatic people get long COVID as well as get the long-term effects of COVID. That means the brain shrinking, the heart damage I'm talking also happens in the asymptomatic people. Not everyone. We don't know why some people get and others don't get. And that must be to do with our genetics and our immunity. What are the concerns for having Sunday school for 1 hour in a big group? Not good lah. You increase your risk. Break up the group lah. If you do 1 hour, if you can get more teachers, fragment the group. That's a safer thing to do lah. The more people you put together in a group, the higher your risk of spreading an organism because and the harder it is to ventilate that room. 1 jab considered vaccinated for children? No, it's 2 jabs. That's for children. If they had previous infection plus 1 jab, I think that's, to me, in my mind, from the data, that's like 2 jabs. Right now, as you can see from my guidance, I have not made vaccination mandatory for coming back. Nice, good to have. I have made that condition because a lot of children are not vaccinated and you'll have to decide about that. So I prefer 2 doses before they come back, but I would accept children back with no vaccination if we can make our rooms safer.
Okay, there's some more of it. Yeah, just truncated earlier. Will supplements help?
Supplements, the data has now refuted all supplements. I was taking vitamin D. I'm just taking a bit because that was the best data. But that data, even the vitamin D data now is very weak to support it. Vitamin C data, only data I saw of some benefit was injection vitamin D when you're in ICU. The routine vitamin D data no good. So only children I would supplement the ones who are not eating. Not eating properly. There's some children only eat bread or only eat rice with ketchup or something like that. Then they may need supplements. But the average child who's eating some fruit and vegetables and a mixed diet, I wouldn't supplement them. The poor are the ones who need supplement, not the rich. The rich eat enough. Most of you can eat enough. So no supplementation to prevent COVID at the present moment, but keeping physically fit is valuable. That's for sure. Dropping your weight a bit, pushing your exercise so you're more fit. You can handle infection much better if you're fit. I walk 4 km every day for the last 2 years. Okay, I'm extremely fit right now. I think I could walk 20 km without blinking an eye. Never been so fit in my legs, again, because I've got high risk, I've got cardiac problems, so I made myself more fit because of COVID. Yeah. Next, anything more?
Okay, I think that's about all. Okay. We are making the recording for today's talk available. Hey, sorry, I did on my video. We are making the recording for today's talk available. Okay, I'll send the email, as well as the link of all the articles, as well as the recommendation that Dr. Amar has given. Okay, we will make it all available.
Assuming I have a ventilation file, which I have not updated, as long as you bear in mind things are changing, I'm not updated, but it's a good ventilation file. I put a lot of energy and effort in it.
You share with me, and then
I share a link with you where I've got lots of files, and people can pick and choose what you want. Now, inside there, got resilience on family, what to do, this and that. You choose, but the more current the file, the better. But look at the ventilation file. All the links I put are inside there. But I didn't put that particular manufacturer of that thing because I only recently discovered that one the last couple of months, and I've been using that device.
Okay. I think all of us will agree that this will be a very informative talk. I think we have learned a lot from Dr. Amar. He has put a lot of work to it, and he continues to do a lot of work to it because the COVID is not going away anyway. Okay, will be with us for a while. So continue to act on the latest information. And as Amar has said, sometimes the churches, Christians, are very quick to forward fake news. Just be a bit careful. Okay, if you are not sure, check with some people, reliable people. Okay, sometimes I do check with Amar himself. Hey, brother, this one can.
There's one particular chap, a former church member, who sends me something almost every week. So now I don't respond anymore because he expects me to do his fact checking for him all the time. And after about 10 or 15, you kind of get tired because you got from so many different directions. So can I suggest you can also do fact checking? Search lah. Google is very good at offering good information, and there are reliable sites out there. Sometimes when somebody says something outlandish, I go and check, is this a fake news site? And Google will tell you lah, this guy, they always publish fake news or sensational news. And so I stopped reading that article. There's no point damaging your brain with people who don't.
Wasting your time.
You're wasting your time. So like, I give an example. Like recently you saw that article talking about how your liver DNA cells got changed by the vaccine. There was one study published, but actually they use cancer liver DNA cells. Inside there, they put enzymes that could work. It's not your normal liver cells. So I dismissed that completely. That was an unethical piece of work to actually have published. They should have made it much clearer that but it ran the news cycle. Many people got worried that Pfizer is going to change your DNA. I have not seen any data that Pfizer changes our DNA at the present moment. But there's still people pushing that kind of thing. One other very, very good people to look at are Independent Sage, SAGE, Independent. This is a bunch of UK specialists. I wish I belonged to them. They do a talk almost every week. You can go to YouTube, their talks are there, and they encourage public to ask questions as well. And they cover UK, of course, UK data, but they do very sensible discussions about a whole wide range of things. I like them. I listen to them and I gain a lot of ideas from their thinking. Because they got immunologists, they got public health people, they got policy people, and they got clinicians inside. So they're a lot better than one Amar, People have asked me to do that every week. Actually, I got that request very early in COVID, but I cannot, I would die, Already I'm doing too many talks here.
Okay, okay. I had to squeeze his hand a bit to get this talk done.
Yeah, it was a tight period, but I thought, things are coming down. Everybody's going to think of opening Sunday school. I think we should open. Okay, I hope you're hearing me. My general opinion, I think we should open, but fix your Sunday school to make it safe to open and make resources available to your parents and stop wearing the surgical mask. Move on. Sounds very severe there, but I think we have to move to the data. By the way, the mask data has been around for more than 6 to 9 months.
Okay. I just trust that all you have been helped by this, and I'll try to collate things and send out as soon as I can. Okay. Come, let's close in prayer. Lord, I just thank you, Lord, for the sharing of life together. Thank you, Lord, for the information that you have downloaded, Lord, and Amar has shared with us. Continue to pray that you will take the information and use it wisely. that we want the Lord to continue to serve you, especially all the more, Lord, with our children ministry. And just pray, Lord, that we're able to, in a way, Lord, look forward to opening, but safely, and do it sensibly. So I just pray for much wisdom and favor from you. In our own English churches, each of us have our own limitation and barriers. So I just pray, Lord, that you grant us, Lord, wisdom to know how to overcome these barriers and this limitation that we have, and continue to do the work and the ministry have for each one of us, the church, especially Sunday school ministry. So I just thank and just praise you for this time together. Thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name we do pray. Amen.
And Xiaoming, can I add an amen to that? And a blessing to all of you. You're fundamental in the lives of children to nurture them and bring them to understanding of who Jesus is in our life and plugging them into the heart of our Father. So bless you as you do this work. And remember, your most important resource is God.
Amen.
We need to throw ourselves on God at this time and rest in His embrace, His eternal embrace. Okay, back to you, Xiaoming.
Thank you. God bless. Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks. Okay.